The courtroom is silent, too silent. You could hear the echo of a heartbeat if you listen close enough. At the center of it all sits Kody Brown, his once golden curls now gray at the edges, his hands trembling as the judge flips open a thick folder marked Brown versus Brown. The title alone feels like a prophecy fulfilled. Across the room, Christine stares straight ahead, her eyes steady, cold, unflinching. To her left, Janelle folds her hands tightly, fighting the tremor in her voice. And Robyn, she's already crying, not for justice, not even for love, but for what she knows is about to come out next. Because today, the sister wives aren't fighting for love or family or even freedom. They're fighting for truth, and the truth has a way of destroying everything it touches. And as the bailiff announces, "All rise," you can feel the weight of 15 years of secrets pressing down on every breath. One family, 4 wives, 1 man, and a courtroom that's about to hear the one thing no one ever dared to say aloud. Before we step into that courtroom, take a second. If you think you already know how this ends, you don't. The judge's gavel cracks through the air, sharp as thunder in a storm, and the courtroom comes alive with whispers and tension. Kody Brown sits stiffly, his jaw tight, eyes darting between the women who once shared his home, his dreams, his name. The air smells of coffee, perfume, and nerves, years of buried emotions simmering just beneath the surface. The camera of our minds zooms in, Christine's arms crossed, her chin high, Janelle's eyes flickering between resolve and regret, Robyn's trembling hands clutching tissues like lifelines, and Meri, distant, silent, unreadable. The clerk reads the case title again, Brown versus Brown, and the weight of those words feels heavier than any legal charge. The voiceover softens, drawing us into the story like an invisible witness. This isn't just about property or custody. This is about betrayal, truth, and the cost of love that was never meant to be shared. The courtroom doors close, sealing the family in with their past. If you're still watching, don't blink now, because what happens next changes everything. Christine is the first to take the stand. She moves with the calm of someone who's rehearsed this moment in her mind 1,000 times. Her voice doesn't shake as she swears to tell the truth, but her eyes betray a flicker of fear. "Mrs. Brown," the attorney begins, "can you tell the court why you decided to file this case?" A pause. Christine inhales, exhales, and her gaze drifts toward Kody. "Because," she says softly, "after all those years of pretending, I realized we weren't a family. We were a facade." A murmur ripples through the room. Robyn's eyes widen. Kody shakes his head, lips pressed thin. The attorney presses further. "A facade?" "Yes," Christine continues, her voice hardening. "We built our lives for cameras, for appearances, but off camera it was manipulation, control, and silence. Kody didn't just want wives, he wanted worshippers." Kody's attorney jumps up. "Objection!" But the judge raises a hand. "Overruled, let her finish." The words hang in the air like smoke. Christine's confession cracks open the first layer of this perfect family's illusion. The voiceover slips in, low and haunting. Behind every family photo, there's a secret no one's smiling about. If you've ever stayed silent just to keep the peace, this part might hit too close to home. Janelle's turn comes next. She's nervous, adjusting her glasses, her tone careful, measured. "I loved Kody," she says quietly, "but loving him meant losing myself." She glances toward Christine, offering a faint nod of solidarity. "We weren't equal. Robyn became the favorite, and the rest of us were invisible." The courtroom reacts again. Whispers, gasps, the scribbling of pens. The voiceover leans in. Favoritism, the quiet poison that kills love long before it dies. The camera of our imagination pans to Robyn, whose face is streaked with tears. She shakes her head, mouthing, "That's not true," but deep down, everyone knows it is. Kody leans forward, finally breaking his silence. "You're twisting everything," he blurts. His voice echoes through the courtroom, the control he once commanded now slipping from his grasp. "I gave everything for this family." Christine meets his glare with cold precision. "You gave everything for yourself." The tension is unbearable. Even the judge seems to pause, letting the silence carve its own verdict. The voiceover continues, softer now. Love built on power doesn't last. It only lasts as long as the weaker ones stay quiet. If you're still here, that means you feel it too. The weight of what's unsaid. Stay with me. The truth is just getting started. Meri's testimony is next, and it's unlike the others. Her voice trembles at first, fragile but sincere. I don't hate Kody, she begins. I just wish he'd loved me as much as he loved the image of us. She wipes her eyes quickly, embarrassed by her own emotion. We were told to show unity, to smile, to forgive, even when we were breaking inside. She pauses, looking straight at Robyn. And I did forgive, over and over, but forgiveness without change is just submission. The entire courtroom goes still. Even the judge leans forward, watching. Kody's eyes glisten, but whether from guilt or anger, no one can tell. The voiceover cuts through, calm but powerful. Sometimes, the quietest one in the room tells the loudest truth. Christine, Janelle, and Meri, 3 women who once shared everything, now sit, divided by years of secrets and an unspoken sisterhood. If you think this story can't get more personal, remember, truth has layers, and we're just peeling the first one. The lawyer now presents evidence, emails, bank statements, and a mysterious letter found in Robyn's handwriting. The courtroom buzzes again. Robyn looks pale as the paper is read aloud. It's dated 2 years before Christine's departure, a letter pleading with Kody to cut off the other wives for good and start fresh with her. Gasps fill the room. Kody buries his face in his hands. That's not how it happened, he mutters. Robyn sobs, shaking her head. It was a mistake. I didn't mean... But the judge raises a hand. Enough. The evidence speaks for itself. The voiceover whispers, loyalty, once broken, can't be repaired. It only hides, waiting for its moment to bleed. The silence stretches long after the reading ends. Christine looks almost sorry for Robyn. Almost. The attorney concludes with one final question. Mrs. Brown, what do you want from this case? Christine closes her eyes for a long moment. When she opens them, there's no anger left, just exhaustion. I want peace, she says. Real peace. The kind that doesn't need cameras or contracts. The voiceover swells with emotion, matching the raw truth of her words. Peace isn't given. It's earned by walking away from what destroys you. The judge calls for recess, the gavel slams, and for the first time in years, Kody and his wives are forced to sit in silence, surrounded by the echoes of a love story that's finally out of scripts. The camera lingers on Kody's face, haunted, pale, and uncertain. He looks up, meeting Christine's eyes from across the room, and for a second, it's as if time rewinds. Back to the laughter, the family dinners, the vows. But those days are gone. The voiceover softens, ending the session on a note of quiet foreboding. The courtroom may close for the day, but the truth never sleeps. And tomorrow, the testimony that could destroy Kody's world forever will finally be heard. Tell me in the comments. Do you believe Kody deserves redemption, or has his time finally run out? When the courtroom doors open again the next morning, the air feels heavier, like the walls themselves have absorbed the tension from the day before. Kody walks in first, his usual confidence now replaced with something fragile. His eyes dart nervously from camera flashes to familiar faces. The wives follow, each wearing expressions shaped by long nights without sleep. Christine looks focused, almost calm. Janelle appears cautious, watching everything around her. Meri looks withdrawn, her face pale but composed. And Robyn looks broken. Her mascara is faintly smudged, her steps small, deliberate. The crowd senses it. Something big is coming. The judge calls the court to order, his voice firm and echoing. We will now hear testimony from Mrs. Robyn Brown. The room goes silent. Kody glances toward her, almost pleadingly, but she avoids his eyes. As she takes the stand, her voice trembles. I never wanted any of this, she begins, clutching the microphone with shaking hands. I thought I was helping him. I thought we were protecting our family. The lawyer steps forward. Protecting it from what, Mrs. Brown? Robyn swallows hard. From the truth. A ripple of whispers passes through the courtroom. Kody shifts uncomfortably but doesn't interrupt. Robyn's eyes glisten as she continues. I wrote that letter because Kody told me he couldn't handle the stress anymore. He said that other wives were turning the children against him, that they didn't respect his leadership. I just wanted to fix things. I didn't realize I was helping him destroy everything. The words hang heavy in the air. If you've ever tried to fix something and only made it worse, you know exactly how Robyn feels right now. The lawyer asks, did Kody ever suggest removing the other wives from the marriage legally? Robyn hesitates, tears pooling at the corners of her eyes. He mentioned it once, she says, voice cracking. He said he wished polygamy was still protected, but if it came to choosing, he'd choose me. The courtroom gasps. Christine looks down, blinking rapidly to stop her own tears. Janelle exhales sharply, anger flickering behind her calm expression. Kody's attorney stands up, shouting, "Objection! Hearsay!" But the judge overrules again. "Let her speak," Robyn continues, her voice gaining strength through guilt. "I didn't know what that would mean for them. I didn't realize he'd already been moving money into new accounts only he and I had access to." Now the room explodes into noise. Reporters scribble furiously. Kody slams his palm against the table. "That's not true," he yells. But Robyn turns toward him, eyes full of something deeper than anger, disappointment. "It is true, Kody. You told me it was for the family's safety, but you never told them. You made me lie for you." The voiceover slides in low and dramatic. Every secret eventually comes with the receipt, and today the bill just came due. If you think you know who's the villain here, hold that thought. It's about to get darker. The attorney presents a stack of bank statements, wire transfers, and hidden trust documents. Kody stares at them like he's seeing ghosts. "Mr. Brown," the lawyer says, "do these accounts belong to you?" "I don't recall," Kody mutters. "Is that your signature?" "It might be." The lawyer presses harder. "So you deny moving nearly $450,000 from the family fund into these accounts under your name?" Kody looks up, cornered. His tone sharpens. "That money was to protect the family. You don't understand what it's like to be responsible for so many people." The lawyer pauses, letting the echo of Kody's anger fill the room. "No, Mr. Brown," he says slowly, "but I do understand what it's like to be accountable." The judge taps his pen, watching closely. The tension is suffocating. Robyn hides her face behind trembling hands. Christine glances at Janelle, both realizing this trial isn't just about betrayal. It's about survival. The voiceover adds softly, "Money can't buy peace, but it can expose what peace was worth to begin with." If you're still watching, don't look away. What's about to come next will shake the very heart of this family. The next witness called is not a wife, but one of the older children, Aspen, Christine's daughter. She walks in steady, confident, but the pain in her eyes betrays her. The judge asks if she's willing to testify, and she nods. "I grew up watching my mom smile through pain," she says, her voice strong but quivering. "Dad always said we were blessed, that other families didn't understand our way of life, but what I saw wasn't faith. It was fear." Kody visibly stiffens. "That's enough," he mutters, but the judge silences him with a warning glance. Aspen continues. "He'd tell us loyalty was love, but loyalty isn't love when it's one-sided. He made Mom feel small. He made all of us feel small." The words cut deep. Kody's eyes glisten with moisture, a storm of anger and guilt behind them. "That's not true," he whispers, barely audible, but no one believes him. Not anymore. The courtroom feels like it's breathing, alive with emotion. The voiceover murmurs, "Sometimes truth doesn't destroy families. It reveals who was willing to save them." Christine quietly wipes her eyes. Janelle looks down, whispering something we can't hear. Meri's hands are folded tight, but her eyes are distant, lost in thought. Kody looks at Robyn, desperate. "Say something," he begs, but Robyn can't even look at him. If you've ever watched someone realize they've lost everything and still refuse to admit it, you know this silence is louder than any scream. The lawyer introduces one last piece of evidence, a recorded phone call. The audio plays, the courtroom leaning forward in anticipation. It's Kody's voice, angry and raw. "I don't care what they think," he's saying. "If they won't obey, they're out. All of them. I'll start over with someone who respects me." The recording ends, leaving an echo of his words floating through the courtroom. Kody's face drains of color. Christine closes her eyes, letting a single tear fall. The judge exhales, scribbling notes. "That's you, Mr. Brown?" the lawyer asks. Kody's lips part, but no sound comes out. He finally mutters, "Yes, that's me." The silence that follows feels endless. The voiceover returns, quiet and reflective. Sometimes the worst evidence isn't what's found in papers or phones. It's in the words we said when we thought no one was listening. The judge calls for a short break, giving everyone a chance to breathe, but the tension lingers. As Kody sits alone at his table, Robyn whispers, "Why did you do it, Kody?" He doesn't answer. His eyes are distant, lost in a spiral of pride and regret. Christine, watching him from across the room, almost looks sorry. Almost. The narrator's tone turns haunting, softer now, like a lullaby after a storm. Guilt has a sound. It's quiet, uneven, heavy. It doesn't shout, it just waits. The families start to file out for recess, but before the camera fades, Janelle stops by the witness table. She turns to Kody, voice low but firm. "You wanted control, not love," she says. "And now you've lost both." He looks up, eyes pleading, but she walks away without another word. The judge's gavel slams again, calling everyone back for the afternoon session. The courtroom settles. The voiceover returns, rising in tempo, pulling us closer to the edge. Tomorrow's testimony won't just decide the case. It'll reveal the one secret that could end Kody's legacy forever. Before we go further, I need to know, do you think Robyn's confession was the truth or just another play to save herself? Tell me in the comments below. The afternoon light spills into the courtroom like a spotlight on the fallen, warm yet merciless. Kody walks back to his seat slowly, the weight of his own voice, the recording from the day before, echoing in his mind. His hands shake, his once commanding presence now cracked open for the world to see. The judge looks exhausted, the audience tense. Christine, Janelle, Meri, and Robyn sit in a fragile line, each woman a reflection of love turned war. The clerk announces, "The court will now hear testimony from Mrs. Christine Brown," continued. Christine stands, her dress crisp, her heart steady but heavy. The lawyer asks her to describe the night she decided to leave. "It was snowing," she begins softly, "and he didn't come home." Again, her voice falters, then strengthens. "When he finally did, I asked him if he still loved me. He said, 'Love is obedience, Christine. If you can't follow me, then you're against me.'" The courtroom falls into stunned silence. Kody stares at the floor, jaw tight. "I didn't mean it that way," he mutters, but no one responds. The lawyer nods. "And that's when you left?" "No," Christine replies, eyes glistening. "That's when I knew I should. But leaving him wasn't the hard part. Leaving the illusion was." The voiceover lowers, threading through her words like smoke. Sometimes it's not the person you have to escape. It's the story you built around them. If you've ever realized love wasn't what it seemed, you know the silence between them isn't peace. It's heartbreak pretending to be calm. The lawyer presents a series of text messages. Kody's words flash across the screen for all to see. Commands, guilt, manipulation disguised as devotion. "You made promises to God," one reads. "You don't get to walk away from that." Christine doesn't flinch. "I did make promises," she says, "but I realized God doesn't want women to live in fear." The judge nods slowly, absorbing every word. Kody leans toward his attorney, whispering fiercely, "She's twisting scripture." The voiceover deepens, the narrator's tone firm. Faith, when weaponized, stops being holy, it becomes control. The next witness is unexpected, a therapist who once counseled the family during filming years ago. She sits down, calmly, professional yet uneasy. "I was hired by the Browns during season 9, she says. "At first, I thought it was normal tension, but soon I realized they weren't fighting about faith. They were fighting about hierarchy." The lawyer asks, "Can you elaborate?" She nods. Kody often referred to himself as the head of the body. The wives were supposed to be the limbs, acting through him. That belief shaped every argument, every decision. The courtroom murmurs. Janelle exhales deeply. Christine's lips press together and Meri's fingers curl into fists. Kody interrupts, his tone sharp, defensive. "That's taken out of context. We were living biblical principles." The therapist looks at him calmly. "Maybe, but principles don't justify pain." The words land like a hammer. If you've ever seen someone use belief as armor, you know how truth breaks through when it finally stops being afraid. The lawyer shifts gears. "Doctor, did you witness any emotional manipulation?" "Yes," she answers simply. Mr. Brown frequently used isolation as a means of control. When one wife questioned him, he'd withdraw affection or attention, making her believe she'd betrayed him spiritually. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Robyn looks down, ashamed. He did that to me too, she whispers, almost to herself. Christine hears her but doesn't respond. The voiceover slows, gentle now. Control never looks like chains. It looks like silence, guilt, and love that feels like a cage. Kody's face flushes red. You're all rewriting history. He spits out. Everything I did was to keep this family together. Christine finally turns toward him. No, Kody. Everything you did was to keep yourself at the center. The judge bangs the gavel for order, but the words hang like thunder. The tension is unbearable, the kind that squeezes the air out of the room. Even the spectators shift uneasily, unsure if they're watching justice or tragedy. The lawyer resumes. Mrs. Brown, did you ever feel unsafe? Christine pauses, choosing her words carefully. Not physically, she says, but emotionally, yes. Every day felt like walking on glass. Every choice I made had to please him, or it wasn't valid. She exhales slowly, voice trembling now. You forget who you are when your worth depends on someone else's approval. Kody looks away, blinking rapidly. The voiceover returns, quiet but piercing. In the end, it's not love. That hurts. It's forgetting yourself to keep it alive. If you're still watching, remember this moment, because the next revelation will show just how deep the damage really went. The next piece of evidence is a diary, Christine's personal journal, entered voluntarily. The lawyer reads a passage aloud. I wake up early so the house feels peaceful before everyone else stirs. I rehearse smiles. I tell myself he loves us all equally, but I stopped believing that years ago. The courtroom is silent except for the quiet hum of air conditioning. Kody's shoulders slump. Robyn begins crying softly. Meri's eyes remain locked on Christine, admiration mixed with sorrow. The narrator's tone warms, tender, yet sorrowful. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is write down the truth before it disappears under denial. The judge asks Christine one final question. Do you regret leaving? She shakes her head slowly. No, Your Honor. I regret staying as long as I did. The words slice through Kody like a blade. His mouth opens, then closes. For a moment, he looks like he might break. Then he hardens again. You're making me out to be a monster, he says, voice low, trembling. But I loved you, all of you. The voiceover leans closer, raw with emotion. Love doesn't hide behind fear. It doesn't demand proof. It simply gives, and what Kody gave was conditional. If you've ever had to let go of someone who kept hurting you, you know how Christine's voice sounds right now, steady on the outside, but carrying years of silent screams. The judge calls a short recess. Cameras flash, reporters whisper. As Christine walks past Kody, she stops for a brief moment, her eyes meeting his. You could have saved us, she says softly, almost kindly. All you had to do was listen. He doesn't reply. His lips quiver, his eyes dart toward Robyn, seeking comfort, but Robyn looks away. The narrator whispers like an echo. When everyone you love stops believing you, it's not persecution, it's consequence. The wives step outside together for the first time in years. The air is cold, the sky gray. They don't speak, but something unspoken connects them. A fragile unity born from surviving the same storm. Inside, Kody sits alone at the defendant's table, staring at the empty seats where his family used to sit. He exhales shakily, whispering to himself, they needed me. His lawyer glances at him with quiet pity but says nothing. The session ends, but the tension doesn't fade. The narrator closes the moment with a slow, deliberate tone, drawing viewers deeper into what's still to come. Today, the lies began to crumble. Tomorrow, the truth will collapse the foundation completely. And when that happens, there will be no family left to rebuild. But before we turn the page, tell me in the comments, do you think Kody truly loved them, or did he just love the power that came with being loved? The fourth day begins under gray skies, the courthouse steps slick from overnight rain, the air carrying that electric kind of stillness before a storm. Inside, the courtroom is already full. Reporters whispering, lawyers shuffling papers, the gallery packed with people waiting for the next chapter of a family's slow collapse. Kody enters wearing the same dark suit as before, but something's changed in his face. The confidence is gone, replaced by the hollow look of a man running out of ways to defend himself. Christine, Janelle, and Meri sit together this time, not close enough to touch, but close enough to show they're no longer divided. Robyn lingers at the back of the room, pale and withdrawn. The voiceover slips in quietly, full of anticipation and dread. When truth starts to unravel, the people who once shared secrets start sharing blame. The clerk calls the court to order, and the judge's voice cuts through the murmurs like a blade. Today, we will be hearing testimony concerning the dissolution of financial trusts and the disputed ownership of property under the Brown family. It sounds procedural, but everyone in the room knows this isn't about property, it's about power. Christine's lawyer rises first. "Your Honor," he says, "we'd like to submit new evidence provided anonymously last night." The courtroom stirs. The bailiff brings forward a sealed envelope. The judge opens it carefully, reading the first few lines before his brows furrow. "Proceed," he says, voice tense. The lawyer holds up printed emails, time-stamped over several years, showing Kody's private correspondence with producers of the family's TV show, messages where he negotiated secret bonuses, higher appearance fees, and brand deals without telling his wives. "Mr. Brown," the lawyer asked slowly, "did you or did you not withhold these earnings from your family?" Kody swallows hard. "Those deals were complicated," he says, avoiding eye contact. "I was protecting them from tax issues." Christine's attorney fires back, "Protecting them or protecting yourself?" Kody's silence answers for him. The voiceover shifts lower, heavier. "Money doesn't lie, but it reveals what people do when they think no one's watching. If you've ever trusted someone completely and found out they had a secret account, you know exactly how Christine's heartbeat sounds right now." The judge leans forward. "Mr. Brown, are you aware that this constitutes financial misconduct under your partnership agreements?" Kody's lawyer whispers urgently to him, but Kody cuts him off. "I did what I had to do," he says, his voice rising. "You think it's easy providing for 4 families. They had everything, houses, cars, security, and now they want to crucify me because I tried to make it work." His voice echoes through the room, raw, desperate. Robyn lowers her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. Janelle whispers, something under her breath, shaking her head. Christine stares at Kody, not with anger now, but with something colder. Pity. The narrator's tone softens, reflective. Sometimes the worst punishment isn't losing, it's realizing no one believes you anymore. The next witness is Robyn herself. She takes the stand, reluctantly clutching a folded piece of paper. Her voice is shaky. "There is something I need to say," she begins, "something none of you know." The room stills. "Before Christine left, I found documents in Kody's office, legal drafts, not about the show, not about the businesses. They were about removing us, legally, all of us." Gasps fill the air. Christine's eyes widen. Meri's hand goes to her mouth. Kody stands up furious. "That's not true," he shouts. Robyn turns to him, crying harder now. "It is. You were planning to dissolve the spiritual unions and keep only one legal marriage, yours with me. You said the others would still belong spiritually, but not on paper. You wanted ownership, Kody, not partnership." The courtroom breaks into chaos. The judge slams his gavel, demanding order, but it's too late. The emotional dam has burst. Reporters whisper furiously, capturing every word. Kody sinks into his seat, his face ashen. The voiceover cuts through the noise, steady but sorrowful. "There are betrayals that happen quietly, behind closed doors, and then there are the ones so big they echo forever. If you're still here, this is where the story shifts, because what's coming next will test every ounce of forgiveness left in this family." The lawyer approaches Robyn gently. "Why didn't you come forward sooner?" She wipes her eyes. "Because I thought I could change him. I thought if I stayed loyal, he'd see the good in all of us again. But all it did was make me complicit." Her voice cracks. "I kept his secrets. I lied for him. And now I don't even know who I was protecting." Christine's expression softens. She knows that feeling all too well. The judge takes a long pause before speaking. "Mrs. Brown, these are serious allegations. We'll need documentation." Robyn nods. "You'll find it in his safe, behind the bookshelf." The bailiff exits to verify. Kody covers his face with his hands. His lawyer tries to calm him, but Kody shakes him off. "It's over," he mutters, voice hollow. "They've turned on me." The narrator's tone drops to a whisper. He's not wrong. But sometimes being the victim in your own story doesn't mean you're innocent. It just means you've run out of people left to blame. The bailiff returns holding a folder. The judge opens it, brows knitting deeper with every page. These appear to be signed dissolution agreements, he says quietly. Dated over 2 years ago. Kody's head drops. The wives sit frozen, the weight of betrayal heavier than any verdict. The voiceover grows slow, deliberate, emotional. 2 years, 2 years of family dinners, of holidays, of pretending, 2 years of smiles that now mean nothing. If you've ever been lied to by someone you loved, you know that silence after the truth feels like standing in ruins. The lawyer resumes questioning. Mr. Brown, were you planning to dissolve your other marriages without informing your wives? Kody doesn't answer. The lawyer repeats louder. Mr. Brown? Finally, Kody looks up, eyes rimmed red. Yes, he whispers. I was going to, but I couldn't go through with it. Why not? Because I still loved them, he says, voice cracking, even when they hated me. Christine shakes her head, whispering, That's not love, Kody. That's control. The judge calls for a recess. As the courtroom empties, the narrator's tone turns haunting. Love can justify anything when you're the one writing the rules, but those rules are breaking now, and the truth is rewriting everything. Outside, the cold air hits like reality. Reporters swarm, cameras flash, questions fly. Christine, do you feel vindicated? Robyn, will you press charges? But none of them answer. Christine just looks up at the gray sky, whispering to Janelle, We're free now, but why doesn't it feel like it? The voiceover continues, soft, melancholy. Freedom doesn't feel like wings when it's born from heartbreak. It feels like ashes. Inside, Kody stays behind, staring at the empty courtroom. His lawyer sits beside him. You could take a plea, the lawyer suggests quietly. It might lessen the charges. Kody laughs bitterly. What's the charge? Loving too much? No, the lawyer replies gently. Loving the wrong way. The gavel will fall again tomorrow, but for tonight, the courtroom feels like a graveyard of dreams. The camera lingers on Kody's face as he stands to leave, a man haunted by the ghost of his own making. The narrator's final line of the day carries the weight of a warning and a promise. Tomorrow, the testimony that could destroy not just Kody's reputation, but his legacy as a father will be heard. And once that door opens, there's no closing it again. Before you go, tell me in the comments, do you think Robyn's confession was redemption or just another betrayal in disguise? The final day of testimony begins under the weight of silence, the kind that clings to the air like fog before a storm. The courthouse feels colder today, the walls tighter, the spectators quieter, like everyone knows that after this, nothing will ever be the same again. Kody sits alone at the defense table, staring down at his hands as if searching for an argument that no longer exists. The wives enter together, Christine first, calm and resolute. Janelle close behind, her face lined with exhaustion but fierce determination. Meri next, her expression unreadable but her eyes sharp. And Robyn last, pale and trembling. Clutching a handkerchief she's already ruined with tears. The judge takes his seat, voice steady and grave. We will now proceed with the testimony of the children. A hush ripples through the courtroom. For the first time, the legacy of this fractured family will speak for itself. The bailiff opens the door, and 2 of the adult children step forward. Mykilty, Christine's daughter, and Logan, Janelle's eldest son. They take the stand side by side, exchanging brief glances that carry years of pain and understanding. We grew up believing our family was chosen by God. Mykilty begins softly. We were told to be grateful, to be loyal, to never question Dad's authority, but what we saw at home wasn't faith. It was fear. Logan nods, his jaw tight. He made us believe that love had to be earned. If we didn't agree with him, we were being disobedient. That's not love, Your Honor. That's control. The judge nods gravely, letting the words sink in. Kody's attorney tries to interject, but the judge cuts him off. Let them speak. The voiceover murmurs like a ghost. There comes a point when even the children stop protecting the stories that hurt them. If you've ever had to unlearn what love was supposed to feel like, you know this moment burns more than it heals. The lawyer asks, Did your father ever threaten you or your mother's? Logan hesitates, then says carefully, Not physically, but emotionally, yes. He'd withhold affection, stop calling, or turn one mom against another until someone apologized. It was psychological warfare. Mykilty adds, voice trembling. We all played our parts because we thought it was what God wanted. But all it did was keep us afraid to disappoint him. The courtroom stays frozen in stunned silence. Kody's head drops lower, his shoulders slumped. He whispers to his attorney, "I was just trying to keep order." The narrator's tone deepens, grave yet sorrowful. Control often wears the mask of protection, but when people stop feeling safe around you, that's when protection turns into fear. The lawyer presents evidence. Old footage from their reality show, never aired, showing Kody berating Christine over finances while the children watch silently in the background. The sound echoes through the courtroom like a haunting memory brought back to life. "You're ungrateful," Kody's recorded voice shouts. "You have no idea what I sacrificed for this family." The footage ends with Christine whispering, "We didn't ask for a martyr, Kody. We asked for a husband." The room is utterly silent. The narrator's voice softens. It's strange how words meant to inspire loyalty can age into ghosts that haunt the speaker. If you're still watching, stay close, because what's about to happen next will redefine everything you thought you knew about this family. The next witness shocks everyone. It's Meri. She wasn't expected to testify again, but she rises slowly, her expression calm, eyes steady. "I wasn't planning to speak," she begins, "but I need to say this for my own peace." She faces Kody, voice trembling but resolute. "You always said loyalty was love, but love without honesty isn't loyalty. It's fear dressed up as faith. I stayed because I was afraid of losing my identity, but I lost it anyway." She swallows hard, tears glimmering. "You made me believe that being silent was holy, that staying small was noble, but silence is just complicity, and I'm done being holy if it means disappearing." The courtroom exhales collectively. Kody can't look at her. Robyn covers her mouth, whispering something we can't hear. The voiceover lowers, warm but heartbreaking. Some people find redemption in forgiveness. Others find it in finally speaking out. Christine reaches for Meri's hand, and for the first time in years, they don't pull away from each other. That simple touch says more than words ever could. The lawyer now introduces the last piece of evidence, a handwritten note discovered in Kody's desk dated just a week before the trial began. It's not legal paperwork. It's a confession. "If they all leave," it reads, "then I have nothing. Without them, I'm not a husband, not a leader, just a man with too many regrets." Kody's face pales. "That wasn't meant for anyone to see," he says quietly. The judge looks at him carefully. "Do you wish to explain it, Mr. Brown?" Kody's lips tremble. "I thought I was doing what was right. I wanted unity. I wanted them to follow me because I believed that's what God wanted. But I see now I was just scared of being alone." The courtroom softens. For a fleeting second, everyone sees the man behind the arrogance, the pain behind the pride. The voiceover turns gentle, intimate. Sometimes control is just fear in disguise. And sometimes the person who caused the most pain is the one most afraid of being forgotten. If you've ever seen someone finally realize what they've lost too late, you know the silence isn't mercy, it's mourning. The judge nods slowly. "Mr. Brown, it's not my place to judge your faith, but this court can judge your actions, and they've caused real harm." He pauses, then delivers the ruling. The shared trust will be dissolved. All assets will be divided equally among the wives and their children. Custody of the minor children will be jointly shared. And Mr. Brown, this court strongly recommends counseling for you and your family. The gavel falls. The sound reverberates like thunder in the bones of everyone present. Kody sits motionless, staring straight ahead, his face unreadable. Christine exhales, a tear rolling down her cheek, not out of joy, but release. Janelle grips her hand. Meri quietly nods, while Robyn sobs softly in the corner, whispering prayers to no one in particular. The narrator's tone turns poetic, bittersweet. It's over. The case is done, the judgment written, the curtain closing. But healing doesn't start when the gavel falls. It starts when the silence feels less like a wound. The courtroom empties slowly. Cameras flash outside. Reporters shout questions, but the family walks past them without a word. The women exit together, side by side, not as sister wives anymore, but as survivors of the same story. Kody follows a few minutes later, alone. The sunlight hits his face, and for the first time in a long time, he looks human again, broken, remorseful, and painfully aware that everything he thought he controlled is now gone. The voiceover closes the scene with gravity and grace. Families don't break in a single moment. They fracture slowly through the weight of words left unspoken, apologies never given, and truths buried for too long. But even in the ruins, there's a chance, small but real, for forgiveness. Christine stops at the courthouse steps, turning to look at Kody one last time. Their eyes meet, not with anger, but with quiet understanding. There are no more words left to say. They both turn away. The narrator's final voice lingers like a soft echo. This wasn't a story about polygamy or faith or fame. It was a story about love and how even love, when built on control, can collapse under the truth. Tell me in the comments, after everything you've seen, do you think forgiveness is possible, or are some stories meant to end exactly where they broke? The sun has barely risen over Flagstaff, but the world already feels heavier, for everyone tied to the Brown family's courtroom saga. Outside the courthouse, the crowd is gone, the cameras have quieted, and the air carries that eerie calm that only follows storms that change everything. Christine sits alone in her kitchen, staring at a mug of coffee she's forgotten to drink. The quiet feels foreign. No producers, no schedule, no cameras tracking her smile. Just her heartbeat, steady, yet burdened. Across town, Janelle boxes up old paperwork, invoices from years of shared income and sacrifice. Each sheet feels like a ghost of the life she thought she wanted. Meri scrolls through old text messages, stopping on one from Kody. "You'll always be my first," she sighs, a sound between laughter and disbelief. And Robyn? She hasn't slept. Her house is filled with tension. Kody pacing the floor, muttering to himself, trying to rewrite the past in real time. "They all turned on me," he says, "after everything I gave them." Robyn doesn't answer. Her silence feels louder than any argument. The narrator's voice glides through this uneasy calm, soft yet pulsing with emotion. After the judgment, the paper was signed, but the pain wasn't done signing itself into their hearts. If you've ever thought endings bring peace, you know they usually just clear the stage for the next storm. Kody drives aimlessly through the outskirts of town, his truck packed with old belongings, boxes labeled Season 1, Wedding, Family Budget. He pulls over near the desert ridge where he once filmed with the wives for the show's 10th season, the one where they renewed vows under the pretense of healing. He stares at the dry landscape, muttering, "We looked so happy." His phone buzzes. It's a message from Robyn. "You should apologize." Not for the court, for us. He doesn't respond. Instead, he steps out, feeling the hot wind whip across his face. "I built this family," he whispers, "and they tore it down." The voiceover dips lower, narrating with cinematic sorrow. Denial doesn't die with the verdict. It lingers, begging for someone else to blame. Meanwhile, Christine drives to her daughter's house. The moment her grandkids rush to her arms, the weight of years lifts just a little. She laughs genuinely, for the first time in months. "Grandma's free," one of them says innocently. Christine smiles, but her eyes shine wet. "Something like that," she answers. She sits by the window, sunlight catching her hair, the desert stretching endlessly beyond. "Freedom doesn't feel how I imagined," she says softly to herself. "It's quiet. Maybe too quiet." The narrator echoes her thought. Freedom, after captivity, always feels empty before it feels full. If you've ever left something that once defined you, you know the silence afterward isn't peace. It's the sound of your new life trying to find its rhythm. Later that evening, Janelle calls Christine. Their conversation is cautious at first, familiar but fragile. "You think it'll ever stop hurting?" Janelle asks. Christine pauses. "No," she says finally, "but I think one day it'll stop defining us." They share a long silence. "He texted me," Janelle admits, "said he wants to meet." Christine frowns. "You going to?" Janelle sighs. "I don't know. Maybe for closure." Christine nods even though Janelle can't see her. "Just don't mistake closure for connection. He's good at confusing the two." The narrator slides in, voice steady and haunting. "When people who caused your pain ask to meet, it's rarely to heal you. It's to heal the version of themselves that hurt you." The next day, Janelle meets Kody at a small diner outside town. He looks older, the fire dimmed, the confidence cracked. "I didn't mean for it to end this way," he says. "You know that, right?" Janelle stirs her coffee, watching the swirl of cream. "You always mean well, Kody, but meaning well isn't the same as doing right." He flinches. "You all turned against me." "No," she replies. "We just stopped letting you be the only voice in the room." His lips tighten. "I was trying to lead." Janelle shakes her head slowly. "You were trying to control." The voiceover drops low, slow, like the beating of a weary heart. The hardest part of losing control is realizing no one's trying to take it back. If you've ever confronted someone who hurt you, you know the hardest thing isn't anger. It's the ache of realizing they still don't understand. Across town, Meri sits by her fire pit, burning old letters and photos. The flames crackle as she whispers goodbyes into the smoke. One picture catches her attention, a photo of the whole family, arms linked, smiles wide, the illusion perfect. "We look so happy," she says softly, then drops it into the fire. Her phone vibrates. Christine texting, "You okay?" Meri types back, "Getting there, finally letting go." Christine replies with a heart. For the first time, there's no awkwardness between them. The narrator's tone grows tender, a blend of sadness and renewal. Once they were rivals under one roof. Now they are survivors standing under the same truth. Meanwhile, Robyn tries to hold her crumbling world together. The other wives have found distance and strength, but she's still trapped between loyalty and doubt. Kody spends his days pacing, ranting, replaying interviews from old seasons. "They're rewriting everything," he shouts at the television. Robyn finally snaps. "Kody, stop blaming everyone else," she screams. He freezes. "You think this is my fault?" "No," she says, tears streaming. "I know it is, because you never loved anyone who didn't worship you." The silence that follows feels final. The narrator cuts through like a whisper from another world. Every story built on power eventually collapses under truth, but sometimes the last person to admit it is the one who started the fall. Robyn leaves that night. She packs quietly, her face streaked with tears but her spine straight. Kody stands by the door, stunned. "You're leaving too," he says, voice cracking. "You said you'd never go." She looks at him, eyes clear. "I believed that once, but I can't keep believing in someone who never believed in us." She closes the door behind her. The house is silent. For the first time in his life, Kody Brown is alone. The narrator's tone lowers to a near whisper. The man who once had 4 wives, a family, and a following now has echoes. And sometimes echoes are louder than company. If you've ever watched someone lose everything they build with pride, you know that silence isn't punishment, it's reflection. A few weeks later, Christine hosts a small gathering, a dinner with Janelle and Meri. It's not celebration, it's remembrance. They share stories, laughter, and for the first time, the pain feels distant, like an old scar instead of an open wound. "We made it through," Janelle says softly. Christine nods. "We did more than that. We found ourselves again." Meri raises her glass. "To freedom and to finally being seen." They clink glasses. The narrator smiles through the words. They were no longer sister wives, but something stronger. Sisters through survival. Outside, the sky turns orange and gold, the sunset spilling across the desert like forgiveness. Meanwhile, Kody sits on the same ridge he visited weeks ago, watching the horizon as night falls. His voice trembles. "God," he says quietly, "what am I supposed to do now?" There's no answer, just wind. He closes his eyes, and for the first time, he doesn't try to speak over it. The narrator's voice softens to a near whisper. "Some men pray for forgiveness. Others pray for a second chance. But sometimes forgiveness isn't a gift. It's a mirror." Christine, at home, writes in her journal again. "Today, I didn't cry when I saw his name online." She writes, "I think that's progress." The voiceover concludes, calm but full of heart. Healing doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in through laughter, small moments, and mornings that don't hurt to wake up to. If you're still here, still watching, still breathing with the story, you know healing isn't the end. It's the beginning of who you were meant to be all along. The screen fades to quiet desert dusk, the wind soft, the world still. The family that once lived for cameras now exists in whispers and distance, but also, finally, in peace. The narrator delivers the closing line like a truth you can feel in your bones. They were bound by one man's vision, broken by it, and then reborn beyond it. The sister wives didn't lose. They found the one thing Kody never could, themselves. Tell me in the comments, when everything falls apart, do you rebuild what broke, or do you finally build something new? Months have passed since the courtroom's final gavel fell, but the echoes of that verdict still hum beneath the quiet rhythm of their new lives. The desert has changed, or maybe it's the people who have. The same sun still scorches the sand, but the shadows it casts feel softer now. Christine stands outside her new home, surrounded by boxes and the sound of laughter from her grandkids inside. She breathes deeply, the scent of sage and freedom in the air. "It's strange," she murmurs, watching the horizon, "how peace can feel so heavy after so much chaos." Inside, the house is filled with family. Her daughter is helping unpack, music playing softly in the background. The walls are bare for now, but they echo with something new: hope. Meanwhile, Janelle has started a small business, nothing grand, an online wellness brand, but it's hers. She records videos in her living room, her voice confident, her smile real. "This isn't about proving anything," she says into the camera. "It's about reminding ourselves we're still capable of joy." Across town, Meri runs her bed and breakfast full time, laughing with guests and telling stories of resilience, not regret. Yet when she closes at night, the quiet returns, and she sits by the window, gazing out at the stars, wondering if healing ever truly finishes or just changes shape. Robyn, on the other hand, stays hidden from the spotlight, rarely seen, often whispered about. The tabloids call her the last wife standing, but even that title feels hollow now. Kody lives alone in a small rented house outside of town. The man who once commanded a kingdom of wives now walks through silence that doesn't answer back. The narrator's tone drifts in softly, warm but heavy with reflection. The camera stopped rolling, but the story didn't end. It simply moved into quieter spaces, the kind where truth doesn't need to perform anymore. If you've ever tried to start over after breaking apart, you know the hardest part isn't moving on. It's learning to stop looking back. One evening, Christine hosts a reunion dinner. Not for cameras, not for show, just for closure. Janelle arrives first, smiling with that quiet strength she's always had. "I almost didn't come," she admits. Christine hugs her. "That's why I'm glad you did." Then Meri shows up, bringing her favorite homemade rolls, laughing awkwardly at the memory. "Old habits die hard," she jokes. At least this time, no one's counting portions. The air feels different now, lighter, forgiving, but there is an unspoken question between them. Will Robyn come? For an hour, the table remains one seat short. Then, just as Christine begins to serve dinner, headlights flash outside. Robyn steps in, clutching a small bouquet. She looks nervous but sincere. "I didn't think I'd be welcome," she says softly. "You are," Christine replies. "We all were part of this story. We all deserve an ending." The room falls quiet, a fragile kind of peace settling over them. The narrator's voice warms, intimate and reflective. Forgiveness doesn't erase pain. It simply stops pain from owning the rest of your story. If you've ever made peace with someone who once broke your heart, you know forgiveness isn't weakness. It's freedom disguised as understanding. They eat together, sharing stories from before the cameras, before the fame. There's laughter, even tears. Meri raises a glass. "To surviving Kody," she jokes, and they all laugh harder than they expect. Even Robyn smiles through her tears. "He wasn't all bad," Robyn says after a pause. Christine nods. "No, just broken, and he passed that brokenness to us." The words hang in the air like truth finally set free. After dinner, they sit outside by the fire pit. The desert night hums quietly, stars stretching wide across the sky. "You ever think about him?" Janelle asks. Christine gazes at the flames. "Sometimes," she admits, but not in anger anymore, just as a chapter that ended. Robyn wipes her eyes. "He calls me sometimes," she says. "He's lost." "He always was," Meri replies gently. "He just never admitted it." The narrator slips back in, voice hushed but powerful. "Some people never heal because they mistake guilt for love and punishment for penance." If you're still watching, you can feel it. The calm before one last reckoning. Because even the quietest stories have one more truth left to tell. The next morning, Robyn visits Kody. His house is bare, cluttered with old boxes and forgotten furniture. He's thinner, quieter. "I saw them," she says softly. "The wives." He looks up, startled. "You did?" "They're okay," she says. "Better than okay." His face crumples. "I thought I was doing what was right. I thought if I led them, they'd never fall apart." "You were leading yourself," she replies. "You just didn't know it." He looks away, tears forming. Do they hate me? Robyn hesitates, then shakes her head. No, they're done hating. That's worse, Kody. They've moved on. The silence stretches. He nods slowly, as if absorbing the truth for the first time. The narrator's tone deepens, steady and somber. When the people you hurt stop being angry, that's when you realize the story's truly over. If you've ever lost the right to be part of someone's life, you know that closure doesn't come when they forgive you. It comes when they forget to look back. Christine, meanwhile, writes in her journal again that night. Dinner went better than I imagined. I saw Robyn cry, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger, just understanding. We were all trapped, all just trying to be loved the way we were told to. She sets down her pen and exhales. Her home feels alive now, not haunted. The narrator continues softly. She spent years being told love was sacrifice. Now she knows love is peace. Janelle calls the next day excited. Guess what? I'm speaking at a women's empowerment event next month. Christine beams. You're perfect for that. Janelle laughs. I guess surviving a polygamous marriage makes you qualified to talk about self-worth. They laugh together, but beneath the humor is truth, healing disguised as laughter. The narrator adds gently, sometimes the best revenge against your past is becoming someone who no longer lives in it. If you've ever realized your survival became someone else's inspiration, you know the pain was never wasted, it was transformed. Across town, Meri opens her bed and breakfast to a new guest, a woman escaping a controlling relationship. She doesn't know her story in detail, but she recognizes the haunted look. You'll be okay, Meri says softly. One day, you'll look back and not recognize the version of yourself who stayed so long. The woman smiles faintly. You sound like you've been there. Meri nods, a bittersweet smile forming. I have, but I left. The narrator's tone swells with quiet triumph. Healing isn't just for ourselves. It's the light we pass forward. Meanwhile, Kody drives to the old family property where their homes once stood side by side like a kingdom of faith and chaos. Now, the land is empty, overgrown with weeds, the wind whispering through the remnants of wooden fences. He walks the perimeter slowly, stopping where Christine's kitchen once stood. He kneels down, brushing the dust from a broken tile. I thought I was saving us, he says quietly. But maybe I was just saving myself. The voiceover shifts low, echoing like memory. Some confessions come too late to fix what they broke, but just in time to free the one who made them. If you've ever stood where your life used to be, you know that loss isn't what kills you. It's what rebuilds you from the inside out. As evening falls, Christine stands on her porch, the sunset painting everything gold. She looks out toward the desert where it all began and whispers, "We're finally free." The narrator closes in, calm but resolute. This isn't the story of wives who left their husband. It's the story of women who found their voice. They didn't escape a man. They escaped the silence that kept them small. The camera of the mind zooms out, the desert vast, the light fading, the story settling into legend. But before it fades to black, one final image. Kody, sitting alone under a fading sky, whispering to no one. I hope they're happy. The narrator's voice softens, almost tender. Maybe that's the closest he'll ever come to love, the wish for their peace, even if he's not part of it. If you're still here, remember this. Endings aren't failures. They're proof you had the courage to walk away when staying meant losing yourself. So tell me in the comments, do you believe people like Kody can change, or do they just learn how to live with what they've done? A year later, the storm that once raged around the sister wives has quieted into something softer, more reflective than explosive. The show's legacy lives on in reruns and social media clips, but for those who lived it, the fame feels like a distant echo of another life. Christine stands on a small stage at a community women's conference, her voice steady, eyes glowing with the confidence of someone who's rebuilt herself, piece by piece. I used to believe submission was strength, she says, but I've learned strength is standing tall even when your world tells you to kneel. The audience applauds softly, some women wiping tears from their eyes. Offstage, Janelle watches with quiet pride, her phone buzzing with messages from clients in her wellness business. She's doing what she was meant to, Janelle says to herself. Meri couldn't attend. She's back at her inn, hosting a retreat for women escaping toxic marriages. Robyn didn't come either. She hasn't been seen publicly in months. And Kody? Well, he's nowhere near the spotlight anymore. The narrator's tone rises gently like the start of a sunrise after a long night. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It teaches you how to live around the scars. If you've ever had to find yourself after losing everything, you know that healing doesn't make you who you were. It makes you who you were meant to become. Christine's speech continues. When I left, people said I was betraying my faith, but I realized faith isn't about following someone. It's about finding peace with yourself. And for the first time in my life, I have that. She pauses, emotion thick in her throat. I'm not angry anymore, just free. The crowd stands, applauding louder now, not for fame, but for truth. As Christine steps off the stage, a young woman approaches her, trembling. You don't know me, she says, but your story gave me courage to leave an abusive marriage. You saved me. Christine smiles, tears slipping down her cheeks. No, she says softly, you saved yourself. I just reminded you that you could. The narrator speaks with warmth that feels almost sacred. The stories we survive become maps for others who are still lost. Meanwhile, in the quiet solitude of her inn, Meri tends the garden she planted months ago. It's thriving. Wildflowers, lavender, and a small cherry tree she planted the day the verdict came down. You're growing, she whispers to it, smiling faintly. The tree sways in the wind, as if answering. Inside, the inn hums with laughter. Women gather around the fireplace, telling stories of heartbreak and hope. One asks Meri, how did you know when it was time to walk away? Meri considers, then says softly, when staying started feeling like dying. The room falls silent, not in sadness, but in recognition. The narrator leans in. Sometimes wisdom isn't spoken loudly. It's whispered through the cracks of the life you escaped. If you've ever found your strength after being silenced, you know that the quietest voice can still echo the loudest truth. Across town, Janelle films another episode of her online series, Reclaiming Joy. The backdrop is simple, a kitchen, a cup of tea, her warm smile. People ask me if I regret it, she says to the camera, and my answer is no, because regret means wishing for a different past. I don't. I just wish we'd all learned to love better. She looks down for a moment, then back up, her voice firm. If you're listening right now and you think it's too late to start over, it's not. It's never too late to start loving yourself again. The comments flood in with gratitude. Women share their stories, their scars, their small victories. Janelle reads them later, her eyes glistening. This, she whispers, this is what it was all for. The narrator's tone deepens with resonance. The legacy of pain doesn't end with the one who caused it. It ends with the one who transforms it. Meanwhile, Robyn sits in her car outside a small counseling center, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. She's been coming here weekly, trying to untangle years of guilt and confusion. Her therapist once told her, you can't save someone who doesn't want to change. Those words haunt her, but also free her. Today, she steps inside, shoulders squared. I want to talk about forgiveness, she tells the therapist. Not for him, for me. The narrator softens. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing the space in your heart that pain used to live in. If you've ever carried guilt that wasn't yours to bear, you know that forgiveness isn't surrender, it's release. Far away in a small, worn-down cabin at the edge of Arizona, Kody spends his days in near solitude. The once flamboyant father of 18 now tends a tiny garden and reads scripture by candlelight. Some say he's found religion again. Others say he's just trying to find peace. One evening, he sits by the fire, an old family photo album open on his lap. His finger traces over the faces. Christine laughing, Janelle smiling, Meri's stern yet kind eyes, Robyn holding the youngest. He exhales shakily. I failed you all, he whispers, but maybe you were never mine to keep. He closes the book gently and sets it aside. Outside, the stars burn brighter than they have in years. The narrator's tone becomes slow, poetic, like the last page of a novel. For the first time in his life, Kody isn't performing, persuading, or leading. He's just quiet. And in that silence, perhaps, is his redemption. If you've ever watched someone who hurt others finally face themselves, you know that humility is the final chapter of pride. As spring arrives, Christine invites everyone, yes, even Robyn and Kody, to a gathering at her new home. For closure, she writes in the invitations, for peace. Against all odds, they come. The first to arrive is Janelle, arms full of food. Some things never change, Christine laughs. Then Meri pulls up, smiling shyly. I made pie, she says. Robyn arrives last, hesitant, her eyes darting nervously. Are you sure this is okay? She asks. Christine nods. It's time. A few minutes later, Kody steps through the gate. He looks older, humbled, carrying a small wooden cross he carved himself. The women fall silent. No one moves. Finally, Christine gestures to an empty chair. Sit. He does. The air feels charged with years of hurt, love, and everything in between. I don't expect forgiveness, he says quietly. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For the control, the pride, the way I made you doubt yourselves. I see it now. I see everything I broke. No one speaks for a long time. Then Janelle leans forward. We don't hate you, Kody. We just had to stop loving you the way you wanted. Meri nods. We had to love ourselves instead. Christine adds softly. We already forgave you. We just needed time to mean it. Tears fill his eyes. He looks around at them, the women who once built his world, and nods. Thank you, he whispers. You all deserved better. The narrator breathes through the moment, voice trembling with emotion. Sometimes closure doesn't come with justice or revenge. It comes in the quiet grace of acceptance. If you've ever stood face to face with your past, you know the most powerful words are not, I'm sorry. They're, I see you now. The night ends around a fire. They don't talk about the show or the fame or the years of pain. They talk about the future, their kids, their dreams, the lives still waiting to be lived. For a fleeting moment, they're not enemies or victims. They're just people, imperfect, scarred, but still capable of warmth. As they laugh softly under the desert stars, the narrator's tone turns reflective, almost lyrical. Once they lived for a man, then they lived for survival. Now they live for themselves. And in that, they found the only kind of sisterhood that lasts, the kind born not of marriage, but of mutual rebirth. Christine throws another log on the fire. To new beginnings, she says. They raise their glasses, the flames reflecting in their eyes. The narrator's final words flow like the closing credits to a story too human to truly end. They began as sister wives, but they became something more. Women who turned pain into purpose, who found light where once there was only control. Their love story was never about Kody. It was about what survived after him. If you're still here, still watching their journey, tell me in the comments. What do you think love really means? Is it holding on? Or is it finally learning to let go?